going into YouTube now.
Shall I start?
You may.
Thank you. We've just lost James, but we will
He will be back.
proceed with the amended agenda Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll start with staff reports. I don't think we anticipated this technical issue, but luckily most of the staff reports are written. So the only problem is I believe Dan is at the community center as well. And I don't know if we're going to hear him. But why don't we start with John Paul's, just because we'll give time to see if they can connect at the community center. So John Paul's staff report, and he's on. So if anybody has questions, we can ask him while he's here.
I don't have any questions for John Paul, but I did want to mention that when we did the empowerment training that for the consent granting authority, that of course, those of us that were at the community center only got about an hour of it and we lost our signal. But I was quite impressed with John Paul because as they were just reading off of the manual they gave us, he was filling in the blanks. So he did a great job and I was really pleased with that.
I'm glad to hear that. And I must admit, he helped us out, helped everybody else out when he got down here as well for the second half.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
John Paul, anything to add or can I move on?
No, I just I'm using that new internet that you might see on the staff report, so I'm pleased with it anyways.
The Bell offering?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Like it works good.
Okay, great. We'll move on to Chris Croskery-Hodgins. And I know I got my tax bill today, so I'm truly happy.
Many are.
And there are numerous webinars these days and updates, and I've been in on a couple as well. Are there any questions for Chris at this time? There'll be more when we go through the agenda, but right now, are there any questions for Chris?
No.
Okay, we'll move on, and I still don't see Councillor Scott lighting up.
Still trying.
The staff report for Dan. I believe everybody had this ahead of time.
That's right.
Line one. So
Your worship,
did
I would like to put Dan on speaker on the phone so he could at least answer any questions. Is that okay?
sure.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, go ahead. We have Dan and Councillor Scott and Will on speakerphone from the community center.
Hey, Dan, we're at your report, and I believe everybody's gone through this, your staff report regarding the excavators. So I'm going to ask, first of all, is there anything you wanted to add before we ask if there are any questions?
No, I'll see like what questions they want to ask, but everything's pretty self-explanatory down here, I think.
Okay. Now, does any of the counselors have questions? Because what we're looking at tonight is simply putting out tenders to, basically, we're going to get rid of 2 excavators and have 1 instead. And Dan's put some information here. And I just want to see if council has any comments on that.
I do.
I have a couple comments, but go ahead, Liz.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Councillor
okay.
Marchant first.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's a good idea to go with 1. For certain, I'm surprised that you're able to even brush without an add-on pump. So I know we had the brushing head, you had to have 1 on it, so I don't know how you're getting enough hydraulics. And the other thing, the zero swing, I've been involved with them with the forestry machines when I was at the college, and they're excellent because you don't bang the back corners up on the banks either. So I think those are the 3 points I have that I think are good ideas.
Thank you, Councillor Marchant.
We have such problems with the brusher head because it just doesn't have the flow. So when the head is cutting wood and when it sucks down, we don't have any hydraulics left to pull back up. And it runs the head into the ground and causes damage.
Like I said, I'm very surprised it would even run without the extra pump.
It struggles.
Okay, any other comments?
I do. Well, Tom has just answered some of my questions for me. The other comment I have is, again, as I've said in the past, I think during COVID, we don't know what to expect for the rest of the year. I mean, it's been a year now. A lot of people still aren't working. I'm not sure that this is the year we should be making large capital purchases. That's how I feel about that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, first of all, I think the one point we want to make, this wouldn't be a budget item. This would come from roads reserve.
Yes.
So
It's coming from reserve? Okay.
It would come from reserves.
Okay. Well, then that makes it a little bit different. So
Yeah, it wouldn't, we're not going to add that onto anybody's taxes per se. And you're right, it is a different year in that respect.
But at this time, we're only going for the put out a tender, right?
Correct.
okay.
Right
So,
now,
but
we're
that-
just okaying to put out the tender, and then we have to go and see what happens after that, what the tenders come in at.
Can I just
Okay.
ask one quick question as well?
Yes. Councillor Anderson?
Yes, thank you. I'm only curious as to what the likelihood is that we will later require the second excavator. Why do we have 2 now and we only need 1 in the future?
The second one sits all summer long.
Hard to hear you, I'm sorry.
Dan, can you start over, please?
One machine was for the land and one
Was part of the road. Basically, right now, the way I see it, the wheel excavator sits all summer long, and we only use it for brushing, and it's very inefficient at that. So that's why we can do both with 1 excavator. I can take care of the landfills like we're doing right now, and the roads, because we also have the dozer for the landfills.
Okay. That was just a question. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to later in a year or so say, okay, well, now we need a second one. That would be a big problem.
Right.
No, now that we're doing what we're doing with the landfills with the compact dozer, it takes care of 90% of the landfill needs, and we just have to go and stack up the shred piles and stuff like that, once every 3 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Another question?
Councillor Marchant?
I presume you'll be ordering it with the hydraulic thumb or putting the tender out.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about
Hydraulic thumb,
a wrist a twist or
extra pumps, and all the things we need on it.
wrist a twist on the bucket?
No, I didn't put a wrist twist on the bucket because they tend to wear out and they get sloppy and the cylinders always give out on them. It's kind of happening with the wheeled excavator, and it really has no hours on it.
And it's just more to go wrong.
I did, yes, exactly. And I did order, like, I'm going to order with quick coupler, so we can get like a pin grabber, so we can exchange buckets really easy onto the brush head or bucket.
Yes, yeah. Quick connect on the lines and all that stuff. Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so for now, does anyone have any other questions for Dan?
No, one more thing, just that when it goes out for tender, will it include all those extras he's just mentioned? Will he be asking, will the tender include that?
Yeah, it'll include all the extras that we want in the tender. There should be no hidden surprises.
Great, thanks.
So I did have a couple of the machine companies come and give us evaluation in October. So those numbers that are on the paper are realistic numbers.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any other questions for him before he signs off? Okay. Right, he'll probably stay on for the 5-year capital forecast. And Charles is going to pop up later on in a number of different resolutions here. So we'll go to Will, if Will can hear us.
Okay.
He wants
Yep, he wants to talk to you. Will.
Okay, can you hear Councillor Scott?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I think what happened was our last meeting that we had, our computers here got a virus from that zoning meeting or whatever that last one was.
Oh.
Okay,
All 3 of my computers that we tried to hook onto are all fried.
Oh.
So anyway,
Wow.
we're on our phone, so we should be here.
okay, good. So Will, is there anything you want to say for your report?
No, not unless there's any questions on my staff report.
Okay, now,
Yes,
okay, Councillor Moore?
it was about these underground tanks. Now, that's in the 5-year forecast, I noticed. It comes out over 5 years to 165,000 for these tanks. Am I correct?
Yeah, and those are just budgetary prices.
Okay. Is this coming out of reserve?
It will be capital.
Okay, well, again, I'll say the same thing. I don't think we should be looking at large capital expenses at this time during COVID. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, we do have to consider getting water this time of year as well. It's always been a challenge, and now especially with Chapman's Landing, with that new property and the fencing, we lost our water source down there as well for turning the trucks around.
Yeah, but can't you get it out of Beatty Creek? Or, I mean, we're surrounded by water right now. It doesn't seem like an emergency item to me, and it seems like a lot of money.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, we do have lots of water, but they're not easy to get at.
Well, explain, Will, how these tanks work.
So the one underground tank would be installed at the rink shack, which would be tapped into the same water that we flood the rink with. So it would refill it. It would give us the ability to have 12,000 gallons at our exposure, which would allow us to fill up 4 times our tankers. The dry hydrant is plumbed right to the bottom of the lake. So say at Bear Creek, and we could bring our trucks right to it and suck out of the water instead of going out on the ice, drilling a hole, taking the portable pump out, and then filling a truck.
So how do you get the pump from the water to these tanks? That the pump is in, like, how do you fill them?
Which one? Sorry, the dry hydrant or the underground pump?
Both.
So the dry hydrant's it's a dry pipe that we hook the truck onto, and the pump on the truck would siphon the water out.
Out of the lake or the river or the creek.
Correct.
So we're still pumping it out of the water, putting it into a tank, and then into your trucks.
No, these are two different things. Sorry. The one is an underground tank that holds water. The other one is a dry hydrant that goes into a water source that we would bring up. So instead of using the portable pump to pump it to the truck, you suck it up. Then when you're done sucking, it drains the water out so it doesn't freeze.
Yeah, it's for year round, so it doesn't freeze because it's drained.
Correct.
Do you have a breakdown on the price of a dry hydrant for?
When we, the road super and myself, we figured we're probably around the 15,000 by the time we excavate, the permit, the piping, and that's just for the first one until we determine what we exactly need.
So this on your first 2021, this 60,000 for Bear Creek and Heritage, does that include all of that?
Yes.
And is that an estimate or?
Yes.
Okay.
And we went on the high side. Now we don't have to absolutely do both. We can budget, we can go through year after year. Like we could do a dry hydrant or the tank, just a proposal to make it water more available and safer for all parties all year round.
Okay. Well, I still stand with, I'd like to see it deferred till next year, but that's where I stand.
Okay.
Can I say something?
For sure.
Councillor Anderson?
Thank you. I don't disagree with Liz's opinion about spending big money this year. It's just so uncertain how this is all going to end, and really more specifically when it's going to end. But on top of that, I'd also like to see a more detailed costing of it. I know that this is your estimate, but I'd like a more detailed costing, because I think before we've had estimated costings, and then ended up spending more money. So if we could get an actual cost, a quote from people, I think that would be a better way to move forward. And it would give you more time if you did leave it until next year anyways, as Councillor Moore has suggested.
Yeah, that's not a problem. That'd be excellent if you're okay if I get more detailed pricing. That's why.
That's what I'd like to see.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Question?
Councillor Marchant?
Yeah, the modernization fund, we had some left in it. Well, this would actually make the fire department a lot more efficient. And I just wondered if any of that could be utilized for a dry hydrant in settlement area or something.
I think that's something we can investigate for sure. As Will gets more precise pricing, we can see if the modernization fund would, if this would fit the criteria for that. So we could look at that.
Well, it would certainly make more efficient, and where there's houses and this time of year with all the ice, and now we're getting a lot of years where the ice isn't safe on some of the areas that normally have been.
That's correct. And as well, there are areas now that there is no water because it's been drained so much that there might be no water available whatsoever. So these are things that we can continue to look at, I guess. So I will thank Will for his report, and we'll get some more information and bring that back to council.
Okay.
Is that okay, Will?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So are there any questions from the staff reports?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, well, in that case, we'll move on to committee reports. And we'll start with Councillor Moore.
Okay. First of all, I went over the museum and rec committee budgets with Chris last week. Not a lot of change because we weren't, of course, open this year, and the community center is not open. So that's taken care of. I had a library board meeting on January the 25th via Zoom. I think the report was there in the correspondence, the draft minutes. So we have been working on the budget. We've deferred that till the end of February, and hopefully we'll close that then. Everybody should have had a chance to look at the draft of the new library agreement that of the three councillors presented to the library board. Marie also supplied us with a list of donations and grants for 2020, and they totaled $50,420.74. So I have a copy of that if it's not at the office, if anybody wants to see it. She's also giving us a staffing report to let us know what they're doing during COVID. And the library is still offering curbside, and Life Labs are still in there. So those are just a few things. There may be a bit more in the correspondence. And
Good.
that was everything for me.
Okay, and then of course, number 5 will be our agreement with the library. So
yeah,
and I think we've all read it over, and we'll discuss it at that time. Any questions for Councillor Moore? Okay, we'll move on to Councillor Anderson.
Nope, nothing from me.
Okay, we'll move on to Councillor Marchant.
I was supposed to have a meeting for the source water on January 27th, but they canceled it. Now we're having a test meeting on February 10th to determine whether or not it's suitable for voting for the new president or chairperson and vice chairperson stuff. The other thing, it's not really committee stuff, but I want to thank the staff for doing that book for the training session. My computer would not work for it, so I was on the phone, and I was sure glad that book to go through. So that was very excellent. That was a book is very much appreciated. One thing I did notice in the book that we alluded to in the procurement bylaw was the request for proposal for a planner, and I see where they're suggesting that, and I think we agreed not to do that, but was one thing I noted. But other than that, I thought the training session was better than I thought it was going to be. So thanks.
Well, good. That's a positive. Any questions? Otherwise, Councillor Scott.
I was part of the rec meeting, and Liz covered it all.
Okay, thank you. I did have a East Home report, and that meeting was January 20th. East Home received funding for the temporary wage enhancement to pay from October 1st to December 31st. Interestingly, that was announced last week. So the money that they announced last week was money that was promised last October. So it was no new money, it was old money. They received pandemic COVID funding in January, which will pay for screeners, PPE, and enhanced cleaning protocols. They haven't received funding for the ventilation and rooftop units. only grant clarification. So they are presently repairing the two that aren't functioning. I'm sure everyone was aware of the COVID outbreak at East Home on January 11th. That evidently was newsworthy, but on January 18th, the outbreak ended and there have been no cases since. And then last Tuesday, January 27th, and I'm not sure of what vaccine, I believe the residents received their first Moderna vaccinations, but they didn't have enough to do staff. So it was residents only, and they did it on January 27th. Next, their IT assessment, a number of shortcomings must be addressed. These systems upgrades are critical for maintaining resident files and drug administration. So we'll hear more about that as they get more specific. And finally, the next meeting will have year-end financial statements and plans for a virtual year-end meeting. And that should be around February 20, the last Wednesday in February. I'm going to say the 28th, but I could be wrong. Any questions about East Home? Okay, let's see, February 24th. Thank you. And so we'll move on to resolutions. We'll start with resolution number 4. And that's to adopt the minutes of the meeting held January 19th, 2021. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Hey, right, I'm getting my sheet out. I'm already ahead of you. I need a mover and a seconder.
Liz,
So thank you, Councillor Moore. And seconded by,
Linda?
thank you, Councillor Anderson. Okay, so it's number R 2020-2021-020. It was moved by Councillor Moore. It was seconded by Councillor Anderson. The minutes of the meeting held January 19th, 2021 be adopted as published. All in favor? We do that
Yes.
again.
Yes.
Thank you. Carried. Right. Number 5, and Councillor Moore mentioned this, and this is to enter into an agreement to provide for the maintenance of the Powassan District Union Library. Does anybody have any questions for Councillor Moore?
This agreement is
Beg your pardon?
October. It says this 31st day of October. That's when it'll start.
well, yes, we thought that with when new council comes in, and that way we have the numbers before December so that everybody's ready and knows what they need it for the budget. So yes, we will still be paying our 20% this year. So the numbers could change by 1 or 2% for 2021. And that's pretty much covered in this document.
Okay.
Right, it's fluid where it says, basically you're going to go with a formula and every year it could change.
That's correct.
Any other questions? Okay, in that case, I need a mover and a seconder, please.
I'll move it.
Okay, Councillor Anderson, thank you. And a seconder?
James.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. I'm glad now I know your mic's working. So number R 2021-021, moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Scott, that we pass bylaw number 2021-08, being a bylaw to authorize entering into an agreement to provide for the maintenance of the Powassan District Union Library, read a first, second, and third time and passed this 2nd day of February 2021. All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
Thank you. Carried. And I just have to sign 3 of them. I'd like to thank Councillor Moore for the hard work she did on it, and a special salute, I guess, to all of the councillors from all the townships that worked on this. They seemed to manage when others couldn't. So congrats on that. Number 6, this is just that we support the 2021 census, and next census will take place May 2021, and it's just asking that every municipality in the province accept this and support the census. So any questions about that? Okay, I need a mover and a seconder, please.
Tom,
Thank you,
Liz.
Councillor Marchant. And Councillor Anderson. So it's number R 2021-022, moved by Councillor Marchant, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nipissing supports the 2021 census and encourages all residents to complete their census questionnaire online at www.census.gc.ca. Accurate and complete census data, support programs and services that benefit our community. All in favor?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Carried. So the next one is number 7, and that's our 5-year capital forecast. And again, the operative word is forecast, but I'm going to ask Chris to speak to this if there are any questions. Or if there's no questions, Chris, anything you want to add?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the color coding on the capital forecast indicates that for the purchase of equipment, for all of the payments for the loans, that all comes from the machine credit reserve. So that does not impact on taxation. For 2021, the OSIF grant, we had held on to our portion from last year and from this year, as well as our gas tax, and we did have some residual. So for the projects that will be accomplished this year, these are just estimates. There's no way for us to know at this point, but this also includes the large joint project with Kwasson, where we do that portion of Alsace Road. And we will require approximately 19,000 from taxation for the 3 projects once we've used up all the grants. There's, at the bottom, you'll see the public subtotal from taxation. These are the amounts that we put aside each year. For the graduate renovation, we've started putting away 25,000. Quarry gravel reserve, which is when we put that away each year. The bridge maintenance reserve is 15,000. The bridge study is biannual, and that's legislated. This year we're going to be issuing an RFP or a tender for a new engineering company because the one that we were using has indicated that they may not be able to complete what we need. And then the landfill closure reserve. So For 2021, coming from taxation for public works will be 116,455. The rest will be coming from reserves. For the fire department, same color coding for the equipment. The payments for the loans come from reserve and will not impact on taxation. The underground tank and dry hydrant are included at 60,000, as well as a large equipment replacement reserve, which was started last year. So that would bring the amount coming from taxation to 65,000 for the fire department. This year for the office, we will have to replace our main server. There are some issues. We have been placing $2,500 into reserve for a couple of years. So we do have 5,000 in reserve that will come out. And so the total cost for our main server coming from taxation will be 5,000, as well as our commitment to the regional hospital. So the total coming from taxation for the capital forecast for 2021 will be $196,455. Okay. So moving forward to 2022, it just continues with the same color coding. Now, we don't have confirmation on the OSIF grant moving forward. So this is just estimate. Anything that is in the color coding will be covered off by reserves. Again, the bridge study for the engineering, 10,000. As we move towards the Hummel Bridge replacement, we're going to require more studies as we've been working with the companies, with Powassan and ourselves. So 95,000 from taxation in 2022. In the fire department, the mini pump will be paid off as of 2022. So we'll just be paying on the pickup truck and the UTV. And again, the dry hydrant, large placement reserve, and 2 pumps. 51,000 in capital for 2022 for the fire department. For administration or general government, we'll be going back to putting 2,500 into reserve for the replacement of our other server. We run 2 servers here in the office, and we'll be in year 16 of 20 for the healthcare center. So 2022 forecast for taxation from taxation will be $158,500. In 2023, we'll be looking at, again, we don't have confirmation for OSIF. We're going on an estimate for AMO gas tax, but moving on, it continues. We just continue those numbers each year, hoping. I believe, where are we? Yeah, 2026 will be our last payment to the regional hospital. And the underground tanks and dry hydrants and main repeater for the fire department are listed on 2023. And we've included them all the way up to 2025. In 2023, in year 4 of 5 for the replacement Western Star that we have right now. We'll be in year 2 of 5 for another tandem truck, as well as year 3 of 5 for the excavator. And then moving forward into 2024, we have a recommendation, of course, to purchase the 3rd plow truck so that we will have all of the plow trucks replaced by that time. Any questions?
Any questions?
Nope.
Again, this is a forecast. Things can change and probably will change, but we have to have a plan in place for the next 5 years.
We also watch for funding opportunities, of course, and grant opportunities. So if we have any of those come up, especially we're watching for things for the garage replacement or garage renovation. So those are things we're looking for.
Great. Good job.
Thank you.
I have one question or comment.
Councillor Marchant.
Apparently, when Chisholm got the money for the internet service, they had put money aside in the budget to help Swing get that money. I don't know if there's anything that would help benefit us in putting money like that, or apparently that's one of the reasons they got the money from Fidelity, was because they had put aside money in their budget. Just something I'd heard.
I can reach out to Chisholm and find out the particulars for sure.
Yeah, I heard it from a good source, but yeah, that would be good.
It would be good for us to know how much and to see how that works into our budget,
Yeah.
because we are moving forward with the budget in the next few meetings, so it should be included there.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently they put 30,000 or something in.
I was assumed that we passed this quite a while ago.
We pass it each year, Councillor Scott.
What was that, Chris? I'm sorry.
We pass it each year as we update it, so it looks exactly the same as the other ones.
Okay, I think James was talking about finding money for the internet.
I thought we had passed that last year, that we were gonna do that already.
No, he's looking for, we'll have to look at that, James, and I think what we were talking about, and you're right, is that we would put aside money to support our getting more high-speed internet.
Yes.
Okay, so we can look at that. I think we were looking, part of that was, and some of the grants we have, is high-speed internet modernization of Nipissing Township? I would think so, but that's something we need to check with people that are more skilled at using this money. So, but we will check with Chisholm and James. We will look at that fund, and Tom, you're right, because if we have the money there, it shows, I mean, we've always had the land and we've readily given them road allowances, but money talks as well. So we'll look at that for sure.
Just one question too, if I may.
Yep.
On the forecast, the dry underground tank on 522, proposed location.
Right.
Is that on the property at Commanda that we own, or
Yes, it is.
the old grad site?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you. You use the creek, Rochette Creek or whatever behind it to fill it?
Yes, and then dry hydrant on Black Creek Road North. I think it's accidentally put in as Bear Creek Road North in there.
Okay. So right at the bridge on that North Creek, North Black Creek.
Right.
That first culvert there by that stone house.
Yes, okay.
Any other questions for Chris? Okay, do I have that resolution? Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder for the 5-year capital forecast.
Liz,
Thank you. Thank you. So number R 2021-023, moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Marchant, that we adopt the 5-year capital forecast as presented. All in favor?
yes.
Yeah.
James? Thank
Yep.
you. Okay, I'm assuming Dan's still around, but anyway, we're going to look at a tender for the tracked excavator. So this is just the first step. We're not spending the money, we're looking And I need a mover and a seconder for that, please.
I'll move that.
Councillor
Linda.
Scott.
Linda,
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Number R 2021-024, moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that we authorize the issuance of a tender for a tracked excavator. All in favor?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, carried. Yep, okay, so we go to number 9, reorganization special meeting discussion. First of all, I'd like to thank all the councillors because you all said you want to be on this committee. Some of us are very fortunate, and I count myself fortunate that I don't have a real job, so I can meet at my leisure or your leisure. Unfortunately, Councillor Scott does have a real job, and I spoke to him today about this, and he needs 2 weeks to get authorization to get the time off. I am suggesting that we have a council meeting on the 16th, and I'm asking if, and I've cleared it with Charles, I'm asking if the other councillors, and Councillor Scott is going to attempt to get off the 17th or 18th. If the other councillors are available, we would go one of those 2 days. It would be immediately after our next council meeting. Right, it'll be the next day, pardon me, or the day after that. Now, Councillor Moore had mentioned to me about in Bay today about the town of Sunridge. So we've reached out to Sunridge, and they are, quote, getting back to us. We hope that they will have the information to us in time for that meeting. I have reached out to Calendar and have spoke to Mayor Noon about their restructuring as well. And he put me in contact with the people they had, and they will give us some information that will go along with the 2 that we already have, but they will give us some information. I will get it a week from Monday. They wanted 2 weeks. Hence, we're looking at the 17th to the 18th. This meeting would be in person at the community center if everybody is in favor of that. And also, hopefully, our COVID restrictions may have been reduced by then. But I mean, there's nothing for sure on that end, but that's what we're looking at. Does that date, James is going to check it out tomorrow. The other councillors, do you see an availability on the 17th or 18th?
Either of those days are good for me.
We would start, I'm assuming, at 9 o'clock in the morning and go from there. Whether it takes just the morning or longer, whatever your time allows.
Yeah, well, if I have notice, then I can arrange for help to do the chores.
Okay, so James is going to speak to his employer tomorrow. And if he contacts me, I should be able to tell you, let's see, Wednesday by Thursday. So we'll have about 12 days, 12 days. I'll give you the date, and if you can make arrangements, we'll go for that date.
Okay, thank you.
And we will bring any restructuring questions, concerns, whatever, to that meeting, and we'll see how far we can get.
So it's basically council and the mayor and Charles?
Yes, that's it. and we have checked it out, and we are good to go. And again, I'm hoping that our numbers are up, our COVID numbers are down, and our meeting numbers are up by then. But we won't know if we're going to be virtual on the 16th, but this will be in person on the 17th or 18th. Any other questions on that?
Sounds good.
And it will
Yeah.
be closed session.
Good.
Okay, so, and hopefully we have all our ducks in a row that we can make some meaningful motions or interests or get something done. So next we move to correspondence. You didn't get the Oh, you did get the correspondence? Okay.
Email.
Okay, so so again, the library minutes, and Liz has discussed them. And then the library staff information, the FNUM, and that's just their media release. And now the next, dear head of council, we've got the information from the Honorable Stephen Clark about, or well, we got it from Rick Sanu, or from Stephen Clark about the second intake under municipal modernization, digital modernization, service integration, streamlined development approvals, and shared services, alternative delivery models. So we'll be looking at that to see how we can access those funds and what they can be used for. And we have till March 15th for that. And then again from Rick Zanussi at DSAB, and it's just that rents are being frozen. And I know my rent was frozen in Flossin as well. So this is not only, this is province-wide and also the District of Parry Sound Social Services Board wide as well. Any questions from any of the correspondents?
Nope.
Thank you. In that case, I'll have a resolution to accept the correspondence as presented. I need a mover and a seconder.
Linda?
Thank
Liz.
you. And seconded, was that Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Thank you. So number R 2021-025, moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Moore, that we accept the correspondence as presented. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Yes. You keep seeing the motions and the corrections to me. So Charles is here in the background, but we're socially distancing. And so we'll move on to accounts to pay. And totaling 97,000. I need a mover and a seconder.
James.
Thank you, Councillor Scott, and
Tom.
thank you, Councillor Marchant. So it's number R 2021-026, moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Marchant, that the statement of accounts dated January 21st and February 2nd, 2021, totaling $97,352.85 be approved. All in favor?
Yes.
Carried. Thank you. Okay. And confirming bylaw number 027. I need a mover and a seconder, please.
Liz,
Thank you.
Linda,
Thank you. So number R 2021-027, moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that we pass bylaw number 2021-09, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on February 2nd, 2021, read the first, second, and third time, and passed this second day of February 2021. All in favor?
yes.
yes,
Thank you, carried. And lastly, that clock's pretty close, right? It's up there. I can go with that number. I turned it off. Number R 2021-028. A mover and a seconder, please.
James,
Okay. Moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Marchant, that the meeting be adjourned at 7:28 p.m. The next regular meeting to be held February 16th, 2021. All in favor?
Yes.
yes.
James?
yep.
Thank you. Carried. I want to thank you all. I look forward to 2 consecutive night meeting and a day meeting with you in 2 weeks. And I hope you're all healthy and stay healthy, and we're all able to meet again in 2 weeks, whether it be in person or virtually. Thank you ever so much and have a great evening.
Thank
night,
you, and
everyone.
Good
the
night.
audio was great.
Pardon?
The audio was great.
Oh, good. Thank you and have a good night.
Good night.